Hello. Now, today we're going to look at the three different ways that we deal with fractions. Sometimes we deal with things called proper fractions, sometimes they're improper fractions, and sometimes we write things as mixed numbers. And by the end of our chat today, we'll know what those mean. So we're going to start off with proper fractions. Now, a proper fraction is the fraction we're most used to already. And it just means, in this situation here, what fraction of our square would we have? We would have broken our square up into 4 equal pieces, and we have 3 of them colored in. So the colored in pieces would be 3/4 of our square. 3/4 of our square is colored in blue. Now, we call that a proper fraction because the numerator, 3, is smaller than the denominator, 4. What does that mean in terms of our image? It means that less than 1 full unit of our square is colored in. So that's what we call a proper fraction, where the number on the top is smaller than the number on the bottom. And we say it that way, we call it a proper fraction because it's a fraction of one thing. We have 3/4 of 1 square is colored in. So that's what we think of as the proper use of a fraction. It's where we're getting a fraction of a single block. Now, the next situation we can deal with, we're going to describe as an improper fraction to start with, and then we're going to look at it in terms of a mixed number. So an improper fraction. Now, I just said a proper fraction is where we're getting a fraction of a single unit, and we end up as a result with the number on the top being smaller. Here, we're going to count up how many sixths we've got in total. So we'll say 3 chocolate bars. How many of my sixths of my chocolate bars have I colored in blue? I have 6 of them here, and another 6 sixths here. So I have 12 sixths plus 2 sixths, 14 sixths in total I've colored in blue. Now this is improper because it describes a situation where I have more than 1 full chocolate bar. I have 14 sixths, so I have more than 1 full chocolate bar of sixths. So I say it's improper because the number on the top is bigger than the number on the bottom. My numerator is bigger than my denominator. Now there's another way of describing an improper fraction, and that's to use a mixed number, which is to say, what we're going to do is write down a whole number and a fraction next to each other. That's why it's a mixed number. It has a whole number and a fraction as part of our answer. So what we do for a mixed number is look at how many complete units there are. In this case, there are 2 complete units. And then how many sixths are there? There are 2 sixths. So the mixed number version of this is 2 and 2 sixths, which hopefully we can see we could simplify down. There's a common factor of 2. There's a common factor of 2 here, so we could divide above and below by 2, and we would end up with 2 and 1/3. And that makes sense if we look at the picture. If I have 2 of my blocks here colored in, if that was 1, then there'd be another one and another one, would give me 1/3 of my chocolate bar was colored in blue. So a mixed number is where we look at how many complete units there are, and then the bit that's left over we write as a separate fraction. That's a mixed number. Now, mixed numbers are used sometimes for giving final answers, but it is very important that we never ever do any maths with a mixed number. We never do maths with a mixed number. We always turn them into improper fractions first. We never do maths with a mixed number. We're always going to turn them into improper fractions first. The reason why is because it's very easy to make mistakes when we're adding and subtracting fractions or multiplying fractions, like we will be very soon. So it's important that if we get a mixed number, we know how to turn it into an improper fraction. And for getting a final answer, it's important to be able to turn improper fractions into mixed numbers. So let's start with improper fractions. How would we turn that into a mixed number? Well, what I want to know is how many complete units there are for my whole number that I want. Well, that means I'm looking for how many times 6 is going to go into 14. Well, that's going to go twice. So in practice, we would say that 6 goes into 14 twice. And how many are left over? Well, 12 goes into 6. 6 goes into 12 twice. So I've used up 12 of my pieces and I'm left with 2/6 over. So that's my answer for my mixed number. Now, if I want to go from a mixed number to an improper fraction, 2 and 2/6, how would I do that? Well, if I have 2 whole units, how many sixths are there in 2 whole units? There would be 12 sixths in 2 whole units, and I'm adding on 2 more sixths. So if I have 12/6 and 2/6, I have a total of 14/6. So you can see how it is we can argue our way in between improper fractions and mixed numbers. So let's put this into practice again. I have 11/5 here. So I have 11/5, and I want to write that as a mixed number. So a mixed number is going to have how many whole units do I have, and then what fraction is left over. Well, if I have 11/5, if I had 10/5, I'd have 2 whole units. 10/5 would be 2 whole units, so I'd have 2 whole units left, and then left over I'd have 1/5. So writing that out a slightly longer way, I could break this up into 10 plus 1/5 would be equal to 10/5 plus 1/5 would be equal to 2. 10 divided by 5 is 2 plus 1/5, which we write as a mixed number as 2 and 1/5. If I start with a mixed number and I want to go to an improper fraction, I have 2 whole units and 1/4, and I want to write everything over a quarter. So how many quarters would there be in 2? There would be 8 quarters in 2. So I'd have 8 quarters plus 1/4. 8 divided by 4 is 2, so this is the same as this. And in total I'd have 9 quarters altogether. So that's how we can work with our proper fractions, or where we have a numerator smaller than the denominator, we're getting a fraction of a single unit. Improper fractions are where we're getting fractions of multiple units. So we end up with a bigger number on top than on the bottom. Our numerator is bigger than our denominator. And our mixed number, what we only ever use for final answers, is where we write down the total number of complete units and then whatever fraction is left over. And that is how we can describe our fractions in 3 different ways: proper, improper, and mixed numbers. And that's what we need for now.